Hi, I'm Alan Milikjanian, creator of Captain Disillusion. You know, the guy whose interview you're about to watch. Originally, this episode was only on Digital Spaghetti's Patreon, until I paid him a little visit, and let's just say thoroughly persuaded them to put it on YouTube for everyone to enjoy, using just the power of my words. Now, as part of a completely unrelated community service sentence, I'm actually going to be hosting a movie club live stream on Digital Spaghetti's free Patreon on July 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite movies, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. It's a hilarious romp full of video game style VFX and amazing fight scenes, which, violence is wrong, but it's fun in a comedy sometimes. So if you haven't seen it or haven't watched it in a while, go ahead and watch the film, and let's come up with some discussion points, some interesting questions that I could answer. We'll have fun with it. I really hope to see you there. All the details are linked below. But for now, please enjoy the episode. Satisfied? And that sounds heartwarming, but as people with brains, we know that a playing card can't go through glass.
That was 4 seconds, and there's all this compositing, and your brain can't even keep up with how you do it.
Overcompensation is always a good strategy.
Alan Milikjanian is a straight-up creative genius. He's the creator behind Captain Disillusion, a sarcastic alien whose superpower is debunking visual effects videos on the internet. Alan takes what could be explained in a boring PowerPoint and stuffs it with humor, eye-catching visuals, and incredible storytelling.
Always got to put something extra on top. I don't trust myself to just tell a story.
Yeah.
No, you got to dress it up.
After 16 years on YouTube and production quality that's through the roof, you'd think that Alan has a massive team behind him. But you'd be wrong. Back when I still lived at home, my dad was always around to help me out with filming, exploiting family laborers. My trick is doing a little bit of everything. I'm like one of those crabs that gets a bunch of garbage around themselves and they dress themselves. Alan has built a long-term successful career as a creator, working out of the same studio he built in his parents' home. I ruined my parents' house by building a light grid in this room. And his resourcefulness and dedication to his craft sets his work apart. My supporters are understanding and encouraging me. We don't want things fast, we like the quality. This stands out on YouTube. There's nothing else like this. I'm trying to make my videos cinematic, and this is my way of making movies. Alan, thank you so much for doing this. There's so much in your work. There's so much detail. I want to kind of pick it apart and see how you think about crafting something start to finish. Let's do it. Let's tear it apart. Let's tear it apart. Here we go. Start from the top. Okay, I'm stopping right here. What the fuck? So there's a transition from a logo, and then you have this push through that just has this wonderful parallax and this feeling of going through something. How are you achieving this? It's just something I tried in the very, very first video on the channel, and I just kept doing it because it looked cool. It's the same render from Lightwave, and I just keep reusing it. I used to just put the tripod of the camera on a little tripod dolly, and just my dad would just push it, however, and it would shake around, and I would try to stabilize it. Now I added a gimbal on top of the dolly, so that's how we do a little push. Okay, so you've got a gimbal on top of a dolly, you're zooming in on the shot of you in the corner, and at the same time, you're pushing through the logo and in post. I mean, I think all that work sort of contributes to the feeling of a world. There's a world here, and this empty room it's very odd. I have no idea where you are, in geography or space or time. It's just a bizarre place. I think I was going for that, something just get your brain from the start going what am I looking at? Yeah. Where are we? And there was a movement, you could just zoom in with a zoom, but it would feel like any other, intro. Nothing. They add up to nothing. Are you getting this kind of blown out, kind of bright vibe? Is that in camera, or are you doing that in post? Here, there's sort of a key light. There's a 650 ARRI light, and mostly it's backlit. So I guess it's a top-down light and very little ambient light. Okay, so it's just more contrast, basically. Yeah. And less ambient, less fill. Yeah, it looks like an interrogation room or something, right? It's just
hitting me from there, and I try to flag. I'm sure I put something, you could see those shadows, like I put stuff to kick it off, hold it off the walls, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah,
But it just looks like patterns, like what they do on a Star Trek Klingon ship or something. This one was filmed differently because it has to do that lateral move, so it was just a gimbal, and my poor girlfriend Emily had to like keep it on the same level and then go over to the side.
For these types of shots, is it kind of whoever happens to be with you that day, or like?
So this space is at my parents' house. Back when I still lived at home, that was the only space that was convenient to film. And so my dad was always around to help me out with filming. Sometimes I've done like more elaborate videos where I get a little crew, but it's like once in a while.
Yeah.
Usually it's like my dad or my partner.
Yeah.
Exploiting family laborers. That's the YouTuber's way.
It really is. I mean, I've been so surprised how, and not surprised by like how common it is. We did an interview with Gox. Is that you?
That's my brother.
And he was talking about like his brother literally standing in for him, and then Gox would do the camera move because he wanted the camera move to be a certain way, and he'd use his brother as a stunt double.
Or his dad's hand and stuff. I saw
exactly.
It's very relatable.
Yeah.
I try to break up my filming so that anything I can get done on my own that the camera doesn't move, I just take care of that first or last. You know, I pack it all together.
So does that mean you map out all the shots first then?
Yeah, I do it like the film school way, how they taught us. I write the script, I break it down, I make a shot list. I found like if I don't make that really strict plan, I will never finish. Like it takes forever. But if it's there on the list, and I use a little app for like the schedule to keep going, even though it's not like a big production, but I am putting on crazy makeup and this outfit is hot and I'm wearing gloves. So like I don't want to do things over. Also, the equipment I use is a little too big. Like I aim too high. I have like giant lights, like a heavy camera and all this.
What are the lights in the camera rig?
I use some Arri lights and some Kinos. The little kits we had back in film school like 20 years ago, I kind of got to know, and I still use it to this day. So I have a bunch of like old school tungsten lights and some fluorescent lights and stuff like that.
And what camera are you filming on?
Throughout the channel, it's been a bunch of things. I started out back in the day on like a Sony like DV cameras. I used the old Panasonic HVX 200, but then eventually I got into Blackmagic cameras. And I did this elaborate shoot with a Japanese girl band where I had to like fly to LA with a small kit and we had to do everything in one day. And I used Blackmagic and I rigged it out in a certain way that I just loved, and I've been using that ever since. Most of the stuff is filmed with that.
Nice.
Yep.
There's like this lovely lingering tail in reverb on that too. Are you do all your own sound design, right?
Yes, I'm trying to get somebody to do it because it's so much work at the very end of the process. But yeah, I've been doing it all myself. Just like Pro Tools, like I export the edit into Pro Tools and just clean all the dialogue up. I also like EQ a ton of my voice. I just never like how I sound. I tweak everything, clean up all the noise, take out all the rustles, and then, a little bit of like sound effects design. Make some of the music, find some stock music.
You make some of the music?
Yeah, like once in a while, like those, like the typical tracks, the intro, the outro and things I had made years ago in Reason. Once in a while I'll make like a track when I can't find something that just like exactly what I want.
Right. Once you finish, are you actually taking all the audio, pulling it into Pro Tools, separating it into SFX, dialogue, music, Foley, and going through each one of those areas and kind of making each piece exactly what you want?
Yeah. Well, a long time ago, I set up like a nice mix sort of preset in Pro Tools. So I have all the tracks ready to go, and they're all routed the right way. Mono sound effects, stereo sound effects, ambient track, like 4 ambient tracks, 4 music tracks.
What's an ambient track? Just like the sound of
the room? So like the room,
Okay.
Or like maybe if some kind of creepy like drone is happening. And I don't think I'm that great at sound mixing, but it's just one of those things you have to learn to try. Well, thank you.
These sound amazing. So we've been through now the first 18 seconds of the video. Why is that 18 seconds? Could it have been 50 seconds? Do you try to keep it under a minute? Do you try to make it as quick as possible? Like, how do you think about that first chunk of a video?
Usually like the video has some weird storyline of what I'm doing in the room or what I'm talking about, what I'm concerned with, but then I also give a presentation about the video I'm discussing. So I got to front load that little plot and then still keep people's attention for, and here's this video, by the way, that is fake. So you can't spend too much time unless it's so fascinating what I'm doing. But usually it's something silly. So yeah, it's got to be a few seconds. I kind of look on the script like by page 2, is it already, have I mentioned the video?
Try to get to the meat and potatoes by
Sure.
2 pages in.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Cool.
My own unpaid intern went on some reaction channel and pretended to know stuff about visual effects.
This is like such a great moment for fans of yours because there's the overlap of the 2 channels. But the thing that stands out to me is like how animated you are in this video versus this video. And this character, Captain Disillusion, just how he presents and what he seems like, even versus like talking to you, it's like a huge contrast. I don't know that I even like recognize you if I met you.
Good. I was so mad about how I did on their video. I'm sure I'll be looking at this and I'll be like, what are you doing? You're so like low energy and so boring and you don't enunciate words. It's my revenge on myself. Like I go in when I'm in my own controlled little environment and I wrote everything and I do 17 takes of each thing. I suddenly sound dynamic and do this character. And it's the only way I can be. I feel like I could be engaging. But yeah, it's just me sort of making fun of my own inadequacies as I see them.
Do you actually feel that way?
I really do. Like I'm always complaining to everyone around me about this. Like when we were like reviewing the video, I'm like I thought I was doing like no, but when I watch it back, it's like no.
As people with brains, we know that a playing card can't go through glass.
That was a major VFX shot, by the way. It was like a stock footage, and then I filmed the lawn outside my house.
So this is screen in a room, stock footage.
The content of the screen is the thing that I'm talking about.
Yep.
The house outside is a still image, and as it tilts down, it's a real move. I think I just shot this on a phone. And then, yeah, I just like that's a flat plane that's like it's a 3D move, a 3D camera move. But this is real. I shot a real lawn.
Yeah.
3D tracked it, and then a facade of that house is going like that.
Oh my God.
This is one of those shots I thought of later as I'm editing. I'm like, there should be a thing here. A lot of my work is like, I shot these bits in the room, and then it's just giant holes of voiceover, and I only have a vague idea of what I'm going to show. I make all these little transitional phrases, and then I'm like, what am I supposed to show here for like 8 whole seconds? I don't know. So I make up shots like this.
So you get the arc of the story first and the voiceover, and you broadly know, well, you know exactly what you're saying, but then when you watch the whole story back, there's all these places where you can kind of play and fill in gaps and add little extra pieces of eye candy and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's like insecurity powered. Like this needs to be good. I can't just be like showing a piece of text or something. So when you take them one at a time, I could put something cool here. I'll spend a day doing this shot, spend a day doing this shot, and then together they like, I hope they give like a enriched sort of feeling. Like, oh, I have this going on. Like,
I mean, that is exactly what it does. It's
Oh,
like the sort of like the way I would describe it is really silly, but it's like the ratio of details per second is like so high that it's almost overwhelming. Even the fact that like I just started this clip and just watched those 2 shots without even like I was just like there's literally like that was 4 seconds and there's like all this compositing, and it's so much you almost your brain can't even keep up with how you do it.
Sometimes I do feel like, well, I'm definitely throwing things in so that you can't say I didn't try, but maybe it's too much. Maybe like, I guess some people like sort of freeze frame humor where you can go back and notice things you didn't notice before. That's fun, but sometimes it's maybe also good to have the courage to just like tell things at a normal pace and show only what's necessary.
Real quick before we get back to the episode, Digital Spaghetti is throwing a film festival on a billboard in Times Square on August 8th. We're looking for the 3 most cinematic 15-second films, whatever cinematic means to you. We're flying the 3 winning creators out to Times Square to see their films premiere on the billboard alongside some of your favorite creators like Gox and Freddie Wong. All the details are down below, but basically you just need to submit your film for free on the Digital Spaghetti Patreon by July 24th. We also just launched our Creator Field Guide. It's packed with our favorite DIY production tips, lighting hacks, and low-budget gear from creators we've had on the show. It's completely free. Just head to our Patreon page, linked below, to download. All right, that's it. Let's get back to the episode.
From where he was sitting, he didn't really witness a miraculous magic trick.
And damn it, he deserved to. So let's put our collective years of experience casually spotting the effects imperfections in viral videos to good use.
Is that a real push, or
I think that one is probably digital.
are you filming in like 4K?
Yes, I make the final export 1080p, but then it's upscaled on export because like on YouTube, for some reason to this day, it treats 4K differently and it looks a lot better.
So it's a 1080 timeline that you
Yes.
upscale post
Yeah.
export to 4K.
That way it's like I am pushing in on shots. I have room to push in, but then the final thing technically is a 1080 thing, but I just upscale it just for YouTube.
Can we talk about writing? So you said you'd like do an entire script first.
Yes, with this main format in the Red Room, because it involves like little sketches and storyline throughout, I just write it like a screenplay, like an actual movie.
How do you even start though? Like where does the idea come from?
The idea usually comes from, I can tell how they did that. I can see the thing. It's just one little detail. And then I look into the video and what else they did and what other videos use this technique. So it starts from like a technical nugget of like what's the main point of the video. It's like it becomes this little checkerboard of like there's the story, there's the thing. The story, I know what I'll explain, but what's going to happen in between? And then it kind of gets put together gradually.
And how long does that writing process take for you?
Sometimes it's like obnoxiously long. Like I'll sit around for like a couple of weeks or like a month just building it out little by little. I try to just have like a script where I can leaf through it and be okay with everything that's there and then start filming stuff.
And when you're writing the script, are you thinking about visuals that you're going to add to the final video?
Yeah, like just the explanation parts. I definitely know what I'd show. And sometimes even before I film, I'll sit there and I have to like play with the material to test my theory if it's right, or can I demonstrate it using the subject's actual video? Like, can I point out that there's like something there? And a lot of times I end up like recreating the exact video myself or like an equivalent of it to demonstrate stuff. So I decide on things like that. I have this ratty folder that just says hello on it. I don't remember why I put that sticker on there. So we've got this actual screenplay as if I'm making a real movie here, and it's lined for like the shots.
What are these numbers?
This is like just shot numbers. I have a accompanying document that's like, you know, the actual shot description.
Oh, so you have another doc that sort of says exactly what 6.1 is with more detail.
Yeah. I turn that shot list into a schedule that then tells me like what time in the day do we need to get to that.
So how many pages is this script?
It looks like it's 17 pages.
So it's maybe like a minute a page.
Yeah.
23.4. What is the point for?
23 is the scene, and then that's the fourth shot.
I see. So there's 4 shots in the 23rd scene, and you kind of map all that out first, and then you build another doc that sort of goes shot by shot and describes each one of them.
That's how many shots we need to get, not necessarily what's in the edit.
Cool.
That's
all right,
how
let's
it
keep
works.
going here.
Yep.
Mad G places the card, it's at an angle, but once through the glass, it's perfectly vertical. Inconsistency.
I love those sound effects. Those are so nice. The like rotation sound effects and the sort of servo motors and types of things. What are those sounds?
A lot of sound effects, like libraries and collections, they have all the impact like major sounds, but you got to look for those like transitional little things, and there's libraries like that. I just try to, a lot of it is not meant for like motion graphics, but it'll just be like for robotics and whatever, and you just like find little bits. It's very tedious. Like sound design of that kind of thing it's such a slow process, and you can't just conjure a sound up. You have to look for it. It's just like this scavenger hunt. You can't like visually find it.
I mean, clearly you just love making amazing things, and you're just trying to match a vision in your head. Are you thinking at all about your audience when you're making videos? Like,
I do. I think all creators, whether they're like really just making things for themselves or they cater to their audience, we all like follow like what gets a reaction. And I like to think I'm just doing my own thing, but I can see that over time I've been like, oh, this gets a response. In my channel, I feel like there's 2 factions. There's people who like the lore and the comedy and stuff, and then there's people who just like the debunking and the nerdy stuff, and they kind of get annoyed almost like you know, sometimes they'll say, enough with the makeup, like, just, can you just explain the stuff? So I never know, like, how to, like, strike the balance for the two factions.
To me, it feels like I'm learning for free. It feels like I'm learning without having to like do the work to learn because it's so entertaining.
I always feel insecure about that part as well, I have to say, because the character and the whole setup is as if it's like some kind of kids' educational program. Like I've heard people, they show it in class and stuff for certain things. And I'm like, I don't know. You shouldn't trust like what a weird clown is saying. Like I think I know what I'm talking about most of the time. You know, I deal with visual effects and I try to research and test the stuff I talk about, but I can always be wrong. And it's just entertainment is what I'm trying to say.
Have you always been like super analytical?
Well, I like to know how stuff works, and I wanted to be like a magician when I actually, it's funny that that's the topic of this video. My parents were circus performers in Soviet Union, and I would travel with them and I would see how productions and shows are put together. So I kind of always liked to look, you know, behind the curtain and in front and see like how it all works.
That makes so much sense. Seeing your videos and hearing that background, it just, I feel like I can see it now.
You're right. I never thought of that. That makes total sense. My dad was a clown. Now I'm a clown. That's how it
like
happened.
the makeup and everything, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Was that makeup something that you saw as a kid, or is that like...
I don't know if like my memory is incorrect now, but I just remember coming up with the first idea for that first video.
Penguins. Is there anything they can't do?
Out of like a blog I had already written on MySpace, I believe. It was just written in this voice, and I just made up that name as like this like sarcastic thing. When my parents were already performing here in the US, like when we immigrated, that these two acrobats that would be just fully gold, like head to toe. So I knew of like, oh, there's like metallic, you know, sort of makeup. That's an easy choice. So I got some metallic makeup. I started applying it, and then I realized, well, applying it to everything is really hard. How am I going to do the eyes and stuff? So I'll do half the face. It's hard to get the line straight, so I'll add this layer of a black thing that makes it messy.
So that like those like little black lines going down.
Yeah, I just did the silver. It was messy. I drew a black line on top. It was only clean on top, so I'm like, I'll do streaks.
How long does it take to do that makeup?
If I'm not like rushing, like 20 minutes, but I can get in just over 10.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's fake. Somehow. We got him. Thanks for watching. Come on.
Good bit.
Right this way.
It's just a still shot, but it actually isn't, because it's on a gimbal now. But it's actually not me really holding it. It's like Emily is actually doing the work, and I'm like pretending to hold it.
Oh, wow.
Because I then let it go. And I'm erasing like a bunch of things because the room ends there. There's like a hallway.
Oh.
I think I put tracking markers on the wall. I'm not sure. I think I did because I needed to make sure I can like stabilize it or whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So this is not there.
Yeah. In other videos, we do see that part, but it's like a hallway that goes that way.
Okay. There's this lovely pink light here. Is that real? Is that post?
No, that's real. I think I decided that for some reason this part, there's like some kind of dials here and it's purple, but I think I just put one of those little aperture lights. I do try to do lighting for real because it's hard to fake that.
Yeah.
Sometimes like I'll have like a thing on my wrist that I look on a video for a video on, or have like a hologram project.
Right.
And in those times we'll like shine a little light to like have an interactive thing.
Oh, beautiful. So you literally like when you click the wrist button, somebody over there clicks a button, turns on a light to give you that glow.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Or they'll like turn a light that's on a stand or something.
So cool. So cool.
Pulls his hands away. What we see is a real card, but one which isn't there yet at that moment. It's a still image of a card from the future when Matt has already stepped back. The dark halo around it is a lack of his reflection. In reality, the reflection is scrolling over an empty spot, while above, the card is being lowered into place on invisible thread.
God, that's so satisfying the way you explain that. You're just showing us the magic trick.
Luckily in that shot, there's like stuff I can show in the actual video. Like you could see those borders, they were just there. And a lot of times I find it's just a matter of really, really zooming into a thing, really punching up the contrast, and it's all there for us to see.
Right.
An empty spot, while above, the card is being lowered into place.
How is that happening?
I made like a super detailed scan of a card. I scanned one and I made like a very needlessly detailed like with bumps and everything CG version of the card so that I could use it all over these explanation shots.
Wow.
I think it's probably some kind of simulation, actually, the way that it dangles.
Yeah.
On invisible thread.
It looks like it's actually dangling.
Yeah,
And that's all CG.
Yeah, I think I did probably use some kind of cloth simulation thing, so it was just like calculating it naturally.
Maybe use much thicker glass. In fact, double it up. Have everything move around in a legit way, and why cover the card up with your hand? Just use a bit of telekinesis to push it through into the center between the two panes. Then give it one more little nudge to get it all the way through into the front, where a species of your choice can peel it off.
This all gives me PTSD, to be honest. It was very difficult to do this.
How did you do this?
Let's take it step by step. So the things we know are, there's no cuts, right? Because I'm like talking the whole time. I wanted to make sure it's done in a way where like there's no transitions, even though people are still going, oh, it's just transitions, because I could see the card move. So I am doing it in real time. And every time the card is like analyzed, it is a real card really there. So it's just a matter of how are they changing. From the back, it's easy. I put the card right, and when I let go, it just falls down, and we paint out what's there. By that time, there has to already be a card in the middle, right? My long-suffering girlfriend, Emily, is assisting from off-screen with all these tasks. She is quickly inserting a card from here into the slot and then like tapping it so that it flies right into the middle. And sometimes it didn't do that, and sometimes it got stuck halfway or it went too far. We're trying to make it land where I'm holding the card. There's a few frames where get transition from the one card to the other. And then we're clear. We have the middle card.
So her hand is going into frame right now. As soon as you basically push the card onto the glass.
As soon as it's no
her
longer moving.
hand is coming down here.
Yep. It's just like you see the card come in and getting tapped and flying into the center. Now I've let go already. We could probably, if you go back a few frames, these are the frames during which the card, it's too far. This is when the card has fallen through. On this one take out of like 16 takes of this that we did, it just happened to land exactly where I was holding it, just happenstance. Now it's time to get the card in the front. This one has to come out, the next one has to come in. So when she put the card in, I discussed in this video earlier the invisible thread, the thread that's I think the guy used. And so we have a device like that. So the card is actually tethered to a tiny little thread, which is very, very breakable. And she has to use it to now pull this card out, but not before she, on a long, thin stick, she puts in a card from over here in the place where this card is.
And there's just tape on the card or something?
Yes. So there's double-sided tape on the back of the card.
How do you get it in the exact same place?
Usually the first transition didn't really line up, but the second one, she just has to place it where she sees it. But this one actually it didn't line up in this take, but we just kind of have the card kind of travel a little bit. You can kind of see it like move. Yeah. And as soon as she's placed it, she has to pull out the other one. But sometimes that thread would break and the card is just stuck in the middle and the take is ruined. And the device that has the thread has to be like rethreaded. And so I would stop and I would take off my gloves and we would do the thing. And we would do it again. And it was about 16 takes. And I'm having to obviously do a bunch of paint work of like hiding all of these things and even like putting in the reflection. And that's her actual hand there at the end.
Taking the card off. It feels like such a flex at the end of that video.
There's things I was like, oh my God, once I was watching the footage, I'm so lucky that a couple of the things almost worked. Like I didn't really think about what needs to be behind the glass to do the paint out. And I'm glad it was like plain walls because that stuff is really hard to do with a lot of details behind. I made sure I'm like it's not on top of me. If you just like look at the very beginning, you could see her shadow on me, but I happened to lean in forward at the same time. So it looks like I'm kind of losing the light right there. I think that's her because she kind of leaned in a little too much. So, but it coincides with me moving. So it kind of looks like I did that. And if I didn't do that, it would have been like, oh, you see, that's her moving away. But it looks like it's my movement.
Oh, wow. So it's like, she's like stepping in front of the light.
Yeah. I mean, we figured it out where that wouldn't happen, but she just happened to move differently, you know. I think she went in a little too frontal. So things like that, I'm like, you lucky bastard. Like, this could have not worked. Like we would have just had to bail.
So is there anybody else that you work with on the videos?
I've been trying to make myself collaborate with people, and I sometimes work with a talented young VFX guy. He has like a channel, Joey VFX, Joey Deutsch is his name. And he's really good. Like I can throw shots his way where I'm like, oh, I got in over my head. I can't do this. Is going to take me another month. And like he can do things like that. I don't remember now if maybe we like collaborated on this. I know I did this CG stuff after, but I may have outsourced that to him. I know that at this point, like after 16 years on YouTube, usually people in my position have it all figured out. They have a staff, they have like a production schedule, but I'm still kind of acting like just a guy trying to do little YouTube videos. I do enjoy the flexibility and the fact that I'm kind of in control of everything, and my supporters are really understanding and encouraging me, like always, like we don't want things fast, we like the quality, so
Yeah.
that's always nice to have.
This stands out on YouTube. There's nothing else like this. Even VFX channels, like the closest things to this are miles away from it. And I think it's because you just are, everything about it is exactly how you want it to be. It feels very pure to me, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think my trick is doing a little bit of everything from different directions. I'm like one of those crabs that like gets a bunch of garbage around themselves and they dress themselves like, if I do all the parts kind of good together, it comes across as like a fun thing, I think. I'm trying to make my videos cinematic and interesting in terms of like how they're directed and stuff, because I like making movies, and this is my way of making movies, like making these non-movies movie-like.
I think you're making films.
Maybe what I'm doing is really smart because I get to do movie stuff, but they have the format of like something that's gets views on YouTube. You know, maybe that's a happy medium.
Well, I think that's a good place to end. This is amazing. You're amazing. I'm floored. I knew talking with you was going to be really fun, but you are one in a million.
Thanks so much for having me.